assist the clerk with minute taking and assist the chair in conducting an orderly meeting. Providing personal information on the form is voluntary. For scheduled agenda items, please submit the form prior to the conclusion of the staff presentation for that item. And then there are some time limits that have been imposed, but I don't think that's going to be an issue tonight, so we'll just bypass that. And so I wanted to just briefly mention that we had gone, I don't know, 6 or more months without a meeting. We had gone to a quarterly meeting basis due to staff limitations, and we'd missed some meetings in there. So we'd gone, I think January was the last meeting that we had. And then Bill Lagrone, who's now kind of heading this up, called a special meeting on September 11th. And we met for a little over an hour, talked about where we go from here. And so we're trying to get back onto a regular meeting schedule. And I don't know at this time how frequent that is going to be. It could be quarterly, it could be every other month, or it could possibly be monthly if there's a need. But we have to keep in mind staff limitations and try to do the best we can to keep the load as light as possible. So this is our first meeting after that special meeting, and we have several items on the agenda. To my knowledge, other than a couple of items, we don't have backup. So we'll just go through the items as they come up, and we'll have staff introduce them and talk about any of them that we have information on. So the first item on the agenda, excuse me, is the consent calendar. And doesn't appear that we have any items on the consent calendar because we don't have minutes apparently. So we do not have any minutes. Oh, beg your pardon.
Yeah, I thought that looked awful different
than mine. All right. Well, where's mine? Hang on.
It's there.
It's under here somewhere.
Here, you can have mine.
No, I have one.
I printed one out.
I just didn't put it somewhere.
Oh, no, that's not it.
Where did it go?
Here you go.
Okay, I'll take yours.
I have one because I printed one too. So.
I did too. It's all disappeared.
So we both have two and you have none.
Well, maybe you got mine. Okay, anyway, so so this agenda is quite a bit different. So correspondence is the first item, and we have none.
No, we're supposed to do the speaker public comment is first now.
Yes, so just real quickly to kind of give you guys a heads up on the agenda, we're moving to an automated agenda system, and so one of the things that the clerk's office has done, who will be taking over all the agendas, is made them universal across the board for Parks, Arts, and Planning Commission, with the exception that the docents was added to the Parks Commission. But that's why the format looks a little bit different, but this will be the format that you see all the time from now on, so it won't keep changing on you.
So then, the normal procedure would be, or not, I mean, the procedure now is that comments on agenda items will be taken after the, I just read this, after the
pledge.
After the staff presentation for that item.
Yes.
But before we get there, we're going to go to public comments, apparently, on any item that any item that you would like to speak that is not on the agenda. Oh, and for a point of order too, you need to go back and change these agendas and pull.
I did notice that I accidentally put I left Planning Commission on there, so I wrote a note to change those.
So, do we have anyone that would like to address the Park Commission on any subject not on the agenda? Right. Okay. And then we'll go to correspondence. We have none. Approval of the minutes.
We will have 3 sets of minutes for you guys at the January meeting.
Okay. All right. Public hearings, none. Regular business. The consider donation from Terry Olson to the Chinese Temple of 5 pieces of art. Do we have any staff direction?
So in front of you, you guys have something. It says City of Oroville Museums. It's a paperwork there. There's pictures in there that show the items. Cecilia did say that they did an appraisal that was valued at $1,900 for these items. The individual was contacted to come do the presentation but was unable to make it, so all we have is the information in front of us that you have.
The docents have looked at this stuff and you haven't, yeah, you've looked at it and you're all okay with it?
It's a very pretty piece of carved ivory from probably back in the 20s and 30s that a family, a man who lived there, brought back. And we probably don't know, but now it's illegal to sell ivory.
Oh.
So she wants to give it to us instead of holding on to it.
Okay. All right. Do we have any discussion from the commission on this?
Well, I haven't actually seen it, but I know that it's in a safe place right now. And we asked to have this, put on the agenda so that it can go before City Council. They'd like to have complete the process of a session. It was a little bit of a trial trying to figure out the new accession process because of, the trouble with cities having lost some of their staff. But we're working on that, and we have the process almost in place. So this is the start. We're going to make it work.
Has all of the donations that have gone before the Park Commission over the past few years, and there's been a lot of them, have they all gone to the council?
Yes.
Okay, after they go here,
They all go to the council.
And so we also, on top of this item, with this item, would like direction from you guys. We are planning on once a quarter bringing these items forward to you and having you guys review the list. And so with that, just clarifying the process that you guys want, that you want everything to come to you guys first and then go to the council. So we do want some direction on that as well, because we will be once a quarter trying to bring these items forward.
So doing it quarterly, it'll be as like an assigned time, which will make it easier, I think.
I would like, I'm sorry, say that again.
Oh, I was just saying, it looks like, instead of bringing them each time, well, we're once a quarter anyways when we meet, so sure, makes sense.
And then just clarifying the process that you guys, that we would bring a list of however many items it is to you. You guys would tell us which ones to then forward to the council for approval.
Is it in the city charter for the council to approve them? It seems really redundant.
It was changed. It wasn't, what it is there was, besides the charter, there is what's the other?
Policies and procedures.
The policies and procedures. It was written into the policy and procedures that anything that had to do with cost or money, either, had to go before City Council. So these items are valued and have a certain value to them, and that's why now it goes to City Council. They updated the policies and procedures, 6 years ago, 5 years ago, somewhere in there, and that's when it happened.
And it will typically, these kinds of things will typically go on consent calendar unless someone pulls it.
Yeah, but personally, I mean, sometimes there can be quite a list. They can be 10, 20 pages long sometimes. And we really need to have that information before the meeting, at least the Friday before the meeting.
And we're working on the process of getting things to you. This was the first time that the clerk's office has handled, as far as my position handling these. And so I will be working on trying to figure out if there's going to be a packet, getting it to you guys ahead of time.
And the thing is, I consider our docents to have the best idea on whether or not these are fitting donations too sometimes. So it's always helpful if I can see something that says that they've looked at it and they believe that it fits the guidelines.
So the process you guys would like to see is it go to the docents first, and then you guys, and then to the council. Okay.
That would be my
Most of the time it goes to the docents. The docents are the ones that receive the items because they're given to the museums. There's temporary receipts and so on in each museum. And then once the docents look at it, actually I have one coming up. Anyway, once they do, then they look at the items and then they give the information to City Council, to Park Commission if they feel that they would like to accept it. It's sort of a screening process right at the docent level.
Yeah. And also, usually we have a stack full of donations to the Bolt Tool Museum. Is that no longer going to be the case, or?
Currently, this is the only one that we have in our possession.
I wonder what's changed there. Do you have any idea? It was almost a formality. We'd have 10 or 20 pages of donations to the Bolt Tool Museum. Pardon me? Yeah, so maybe someone at the Bolt Museum is not producing those now. They kind of do their own thing.
They don't know they were unsure of the process also. The process, it was, there was a point where the docents did not know who to turn the paperwork into in order to have the things accepted. And so it's finally being made clear that Cecilia, it will be that person. Mm-hmm. But the process was sort of broken for a while. And that's why. I'm pretty sure that's why. Because I had Bud ask me who they were supposed to contact.
Could you, it was basically a formality on our part. I think I ever recall anyone questioning a donation to the Bolt Tool Museum. But it took time to go through it, and you did get a chance to see who was donating, what kinds of things to the Tool Museum. So could you check with them and find out what's going on and why we're not getting those?
I think it's also something that we could put into the docent training as we get that annual training up and running, reviewing that. And then one of the things we've talked about in past meetings is adding in a simple postcard or thank you card after donations received to just make sure that appreciation is shown.
There is a letter of appreciation that's a standard letter that goes out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's true. We don't know again, the process, we're not sure of the process anymore.
Well, and so that's what we were asked to establish with you guys. So I'm creating kind of a list here, and I'm sure Cecilia is too. The docents vet it, it goes to the commission, then the council, and then after the item is received, a letter should go out to the person that donated it. And
the form that's filled out by the docents, as you'll see, it's a temporary receipt. And then there's another form, which is the actual receipt. So that's part of the process too. That receipt goes along with the letter of the appreciation. And that's for possible tax purposes if they care, if they care to use that. That's why there's an idea of the value. We try to establish some value if they haven't.
Is there anything more on this item before we go to a motion? All right. Can I get a motion to accept the donation as presented?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we'll open the voting. We're not doing that?
I don't have it on the screen. Commissioner Khan.
Okay, so how do you want to do that?
I'll just vote. Commissioner Khan.
Poll the board?
Yes.
Commissioner Riggs.
Yes.
Commissioner Lawrence.
Aye.
Okay. And the motion carries.
Excuse me. All right, discussion items then. We have a dozen of them. So we'll start out with on the item 2 is development of the impact fee report. Where are we on that?
Wade, that one is for you.
Good evening, Wade Atterbury, Public Works Supervisor. I have no information on the development impact fee report. I'm not privy to that information as of right now.
Okay.
but it's something.
I'm not exactly sure where this came from, Wade. I don't remember us talking about it at the last meeting either.
It's something I'm very interested in getting, my eyes on to see where we can possibly spend some money and bring in some recommendations to spend money in our parks and other areas. So maybe next meeting
Yeah,
we'll have something
sounds
Table
fine.
it. Okay.
with a balance and maybe some ideas for spending some money.
What are you envisioning there, that we're going to take a look at how what kind of impact fees we have to work with? Is that the idea?
What kind of impact fees and how we can use those fees in some of our parks for different.
Last time I recall, when we talked about impact fees, the money that we had was about $100,000, and it was locked up in a brush chipper and a truck.
We did receive the brush chipper. We did not go after the water truck. I believe that was a cost going to be split with the sewer department as well.
Yeah, that's kind of what I recall.
Restricted funds.
So maybe there's some new monies that might have opened up.
Yeah, we're going to have to look into that. We still need a water truck,
Yeah.
but hopefully we can find another revenue source for that.
All right, so we'll postpone. How about docent training? Item 3.
Okay, now that's kind of from me, but what I'm wondering, where are the docents on this list?
They're down under commission, committee, and docent report.
Okay.
So for this item, I guess we're looking at like what topics you're looking for, when were you wanting to have the training, and then other information.
This came from me. And what it is we have a safety manual, which was produced because I asked, I worked on that. We suggested we have some sort of a safety manual so people know how to shut down the various museums. But we never review it. And I'm thinking if we have a safety training manual, it should be reviewed occasionally with the docents so that people are really aware of how to close the museum down. And there may be some other things added to that docent training, but that was essentially the safety training manual. I volunteer, at the hospital, and we have an annual meeting where we have to review safety and all sorts of things, and I just thought that it wouldn't hurt for the docents to have that.
So is there a downtime during the year when the docents aren't working?
Well, the museums are closed from about December 15th to the 1st of February. That's also sort of the time when they schedule the cleaning of the museums.
Right.
So I suppose sometime in that time, it would just be a review so people are up to date on how to do things. I mean, and I think new information on procedure, different things could be added to that besides the safety training. But we go along doing the same thing, and you know how it is. You forget exactly, if you haven't done something in 10 months, you're not sure exactly how to do it again. And it's just a review of what we should be doing.
But couldn't that be done in-house with the docents?
It could be, but the safety manual came from the city, but we would like to encourage it. I mean, I would like to encourage it, I should say.
So who are you envisioning leading this training?
I would guess that if we do the safety training, it would have to be the ones that are working at certain museums because they all close differently. As far as the other activities, like it wouldn't hurt for the docents to have a review on how they're handling the cash sheets, for instance, or something like that. Just review information so you know that you're doing something the same way everyone else is doing it. And if it's not something that they would like, that's okay. But I'm just a review of something, of procedure.
How about does it have to be done at the museum, or could it be done here?
It could be done here.
How about if you picked a time during the time when the museums are closed and scheduled training here in City Hall in the daytime with a appropriate staff person. In other words, have a person who's familiar with each of those facilities that does things a little bit differently come here, have a meeting in City Hall directed by an appropriate staff member.
So what I'm getting is like the lead docents would probably be leading the training, but having a staff member present for any city questions, possibly.
Yeah, a knowledgeable staff person.
Okay.
And it would make sense to do some items that are applicable across museums and then break out into smaller groups to discuss individual museums.
Yeah, maybe invite the park commissioners too.
Which would be good, so they get to know the docents better. We have a,
I'd just like to make a comment in the fact that the museums are all so unique.
Right.
And to be in this facility talking about something over there, coming from being a retired seventh grade teacher, we're all about that same age when it comes to something new, especially when we get older. And I would think that with our town so small and the museum so close, that it would be a lot more effectively done within the museum. The walk and show and the touch and the...
Well, why not start the training here, go through some basic generic training that covers the stuff that you need to cover, and then have a field trip and go to each of the museums.
Just one thing. Probably not all in one day.
Oh.
One thing. I would say one day. You remember, and you forget this often, these are all volunteers, and they won't all come, and then you have to pick up. But if you do it for a museum with the lead docent making them come in, they'll be in there, and they'll study it because it's pertinent to that museum. And that's true of every museum. But to have them sit here, they wouldn't come. And it won't fit as see, touch, feel. They're all so unique, wonderfully so.
I guess the only reason I was changing it up a little bit is it doesn't seem to have worked the way we've been doing it.
yeah.
It's been done. It's never been done.
No, they did. Remember when the books were issued? You know, they came to our meeting and they did. But it's been 2 to 3 years since that happened. And
It's just a review. Yeah.
right, and we probably do need a review. You know, I take it off the shelf every now and then, but each museum is different.
We could do it on like a biannual. I mean, not biannual. Every 2 years or something. Just a review, because the docents come in and docents go, and again, it doesn't have to happen. It just seemed to me it was a good idea.
So,
Received new docents that had to happen.
Yeah.
I think that if you would recommend to the docents that they establish a date for a museum to redo it with probably a person from the city who is knowledgeable, then you could get the lead docents to get all their group there at that one time with that person, whoever you direct.
Well, who's our lead docent now?
It's for each museum.
We don't have one lead docent anymore.
you can direct the lead docent organization to do all of
I was
this.
just going to have
Yeah.
you coordinate, with
Lonnie.
Yeah, Lonnie.
I'm only gonna be here till December.
Well, but you could still coordinate it though, for probably sometime during February,
Yeah.
and coordinate that with city staff. So I'll have to match it against their availability.
Yeah, January.
January is better.
Because February 1st, the museum's open again.
Okay, January.
And I would like if we can get a memo to the Parks Commission members of when each training is occurring, because I know that if I was available, I'd like to swing by and just thank them and bring by some cookies or whatnot.
Oh, we'll accept cookies.
Who wouldn't?
Any more discussion on docent training? All right, let me just make a note here. All right, we'll go to item 4, saving our trees. Do we have a representative tonight? That's something else we hoped to have, just like you're going to be regulars on our agenda. We have an opening for Save Our Trees representative, but they're not represented tonight.
So that's what we were just wanting clarification on that, because the staff were unsure what it was that you were requesting with that item, and so we were wanting clarification on that.
We'd like to create a better partnership between the Save Oroville Trees organization and Parks Commission, so that as concerns come up, as they do for them, they feel comfortable bringing them to us. And then also we wanted one of their members on our commission.
We were getting at least one person from Save Our Trees at every meeting.
Okay.
But when we went to quarterly, I think the connection was broken.
Also, I thought they changed their name.
That could be too.
I think they changed their name.
So
Didn't they change their name? Okay.
the recommendation right now, because we do have 2 spots open on the commission, is, I mean, for you guys to reach out to those individuals, tell them to apply for one of the spots on the commission. Just also with that, we did have an individual turn in an application. Bill contacted them to see if they're interested in being on the Parks Commission. And that was over 2 weeks ago and has gotten no response from the individual. But we're going to be opening up the applications for all commissions for the month, or in November, with them closing in December and making final decisions in January for filling all vacant seats for the 3 different commissions that have spots opening up or open.
You have to live within the city limits or have property or something within the city limits, right?
For ours, you do.
To be on the park commission, I believe.
I'm not 100% sure of those regulations. I know that each is a little different. So, I mean, I could definitely get that information to you, but I don't have it right off the top of my head.
Because I think we have reached out to the Save Oroville Trees before, and they aren't having anyone living in the city limits. So, anyway, we would just like them to be notified. If they would just, if there was, it used to be, what was the gentleman's name?
Bill Bynum?
Yeah, Bill Bynum. He was here almost every meeting. And if he was on the list, a notification that the Park Commission meeting was coming up, then perhaps he would make the effort to be here. I don't know if he's available at 4:30, but you can only do what you can do.
Are they still maintaining Centennial Park?
Yes, I just got a text from Diane Brown last week needing some graffiti remover and had a concern about some water up there. So yes, they're
still doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was mentioned at the last meeting too, Wade, that I guess down at Bedrock they're looking at planting some of the trees that they got.
Well, we have
ceilings.
25 of the sycamores from the cemetery, and we're going to put about 8 down there.
Yeah, that's what he was
And that should be as soon as I have staff time available.
Yeah. Okay, understood. Okay, any more on Save Our Trees, Representative?
I did just look on the website, and it does say that it's comprised of 5 city residents only. Because I know the Arts Commission's a little bit different, but
It's
the Parks,
no property, right? You have to be a resident, right?
the Parks Commission is residents only.
Yeah, it does narrow it down a bit. All right, item 5, park tree fees. I understand we were going to look at the possibility of revisiting our park fees. Is that going to happen tonight?
And that going to be included, the museums also?
There was no discussion about museums, but what we're currently looking at, a new fee schedule for the rental of Hammond Park and Rotary Park and the Centennial Cultural Center.
We would like to have the museums included in that review because some of us believe there can be some changes to the fees that are charged.
I would definitely be open to suggestions on that, and we'd like to take it to City Council in one bundle for approval. Talking to Bill, we'll bring it back to Park Commission and the council, but talking to Bill, he would like to do that after the election for the new
Park fees as well, then?
Yes. Right now, currently, we're charging $40 for 4 hours of for like a rental at Rotary or Hammond. We're looking at what other agencies are charging, and we're looking at what it takes us to clean the park after event, clean the park before the event, to make sure it's ready to go. And it's more than $40. We're not looking at a substantial increase, but we're looking for a full cost recovery in what it actually does cost us.
So it's $40 for the full 4 hours.
For the full 4 hours.
So $10 an hour.
And it's $10 for each additional hour.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I have a request to include an analysis on the cultural facilities as well. And you want to just bring that whole thing back in a bundle at our next Park Commission meeting then? And that's in 3 months, I gather?
Yes.
That's timely?
Yes.
All right. website updates. Anything on that?
So a couple different things. First, I did go on to the website and update the phone number for all the parks and museums to be able to reserve them or large group tours so that they will contact Cecilia for now. And then with that too, with the museums, I updated the times that the museum's open, the days that it's open. So all of the parks and museums information is now up to date on the website.
Oh, it's been updated.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
The second thing that was asked for me to bring to your attention from Jesse, we're working with the Arts Commission, and we would also do the same thing for you guys. We want to get an interactive map on the website that lists the museums and the parks. And if you want even Feather River's parks on there, Jesse just asked that a list be created of what all you guys would want on the interactive map. If it's just our parks, just our museums, Feather River's parks, other parks. And just getting a list together, send it to us, and we'll forward it to Jesse, and he'll create that interactive map for the website.
So, yeah, without going back and looking, I have looked at that site, and it's a lot better than it used to be. It's much more user friendly now. I certainly think there should be a link, to other parks and recreational type facilities on there, but not necessarily that much the same detail that we give our own. And it's probably there now. I
Currently on our website, there's a picture of the parks and then kind of their address, and same thing with the museums. There's pictures of the museum and the address and a little information about them if they click on them. And it talks about rentals. The current website set up so they can click on a park or a museum and find out more information about it. This would be more of a map that he was looking at that you could see landmark points on. And if you hovered over it, it would have like a picture of the park or the museum on it.
Nice. In addition to what's already on there, there would be like this generic map, and it would. And as you hover over it, you could see Table Mountain Golf Course or whatever, if that information were in there.
Mm-hmm. And so he just said that if you get him a list of places that you would like on that map, then he can work on generating the map.
We don't care if it's city or not.
Well, and what he said is he could color code them differently. So if it's a city-owned park, he could color code it one color. If it's a museum, a different color. And then non-city-owned parks, a different color. And then we could get it generated that way. And if there's something that you thought of after the initial list gets sent over, then he could always add that to it too.
So has everybody got that then if you want to, what's the contact information?
So if you send it to cityclerk at
Sorry, I didn't hear the first
cityclerk@cityoforville.org, we will forward it to Jesse.
And probably put in the subject line, map or something.
Yeah,
indicate.
parks maps or parks map, and then listing what the park is and where it is at minimum.
I'll just say I would like to see Feather Rivers on there as well. That's all.
Well, and an easy thing that we can do is we can even add a link, like so if they Feather River Parks and Recs, and they can just click on it to go to the other ones if it's not one of our parks that they're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, if you can include everybody, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, I had a function that I was putting together last year that was bringing in people from out of state, out of the area, and wanting to give them some map that would give them the highlights of Oroville and where to go, including all the state facilities, the recreation district, the golf courses, cultural wine tasting, all that kind of stuff. And I couldn't find one. I went to Chamber, went to the city of Oroville. Nobody has an interactive map that I know of, or that anyone was able to tell me about, that people could actually go to, and I think what a great thing that would be for boosting tourism in the community, and just getting the word out. Hey, you can go to the city of Oroville site, and they've got They got it right there.
So the Oral Farm Trail doesn't, I mean, I'm just thinking of them. They don't have an interactive map?
No, they have, they have their own map.
Mhm.
Everybody has their own map, but there's no crossover.
Crossover.
We used to have a pamphlet that had exactly what you're saying, and I think we actually still have one or two at the temple. It's a green one.
Uh-huh.
And it tells you all about the different museums and all what you're exactly
Yep.
saying.
That's the Green Line Tour map, and they're supposed to be posted in front of each historical area or museum. However, many of those posts where the pamphlets are supposed to go, there's only like 2 of them out of the 12 that work, that are intact.
But the actual pamphlet we do have.
Yeah,
But I'll
and I
bet you-
have hundreds of them.
I bet you as complete as that green line map is, though, it doesn't hit it all.
No, it just does the historical reference
It
points.
doesn't hit the other recreation features like maybe the wine tasting venues and things like that. So anyway, something to think about, and I appreciate the opportunity to get that information to the city, so I'll see what I can come up with, and I would ask you guys to do the same, and all of you. Item 7, landscape restoration of parking lot A.
There's nothing really to report. They're still remediating the problem and removing soil.
I don't exactly know why that's on there. I know we talked a little bit about it last week, but it is what it is. I
Yeah.
brought it up because I had
Tree
read
concerns.
somewhere that some tree people were concerned that we had removed some trees, and that kind of stuff was, supposed to be vetted at a commission meeting, but we're not having a commission meeting, so it didn't happen.
They did remove about 6 or 7 Chinese hackberries from the site, but they are planting, new trees back and shrubs and things. So,
As far as I'm concerned, you can take that off the agenda. Does anybody have any desire to keep it on?
Will there be a dedication or some sort of thing when they're done with that? I mean, I'm just curious, it's a big project, but it's supposed to be a beautification also. I mean, they're replanning what was there, but it's supposed to, I don't know, will there be some announcement of some sort on that when they do that?
I can look into it. And
I think there
see.
should be.
I thought it was just going to go back like it was.
Well, with a little bit, few more plants is what I understood. A few more things. Maybe.
Well, we'll leave it on there for one more time. Okay?
Yeah, let's wait until they're done.
Yeah, we'll just leave it on there.
Wade, for clarification, they're putting in adult trees, right?
I believe boxed trees, so not adult, but not your standard number 15s, which is about 1 inch in diameter. I think they're putting in 2 to 3 inch box trees.
Okay. Going on to the next item, item 8, municipal auditorium floor update.
I texted Amy Bergstrand on that. That's through the housing, and she said we're going to go back out to bid either later. So they're allowing the winter formal, so they're not wanting to go out to bid till end of November or early December for that.
Okay.
I think that we should. Doesn't the inside of the municipal also need a good painting?
Well, and it was, I would like to find the funds in-house and, a good winter project for my crew to do. A good cleaning and a possible painting in there.
Yeah.
We have done some work in the restrooms and things. And with the additional money, if there's additional money left over, we're looking at a new floor scrubber, new tables and chairs possibly, or even updating one of the restrooms or the ADA restrooms and things like that. Yeah. So we're hoping there's additional funding. Like I said, I want a new floor scrubber. The floor scrubber in there is currently wore out. And then I thought tables and chairs would be a good idea because I don't know if you've seen the tables and chairs in there. They're in.
I don't know that I shouldn't. I've been in a while since I've been in there, but yeah, it didn't seem to me like the interior paint. It had been painted,
I was looking at where
ago.
some of it's chipped and some of the just some areas need. It just needs a good cleaning.
There's
and
some murals in there too, right?
Yes.
How are those looking?
They're still in good standing. But I just noticed some of the pillars and things could use painting and.
The ceiling is an issue. I don't know.
Yes, ceiling's an ongoing issue.
But so is there? So we heard that the bids came in too high on the floor.
We had one bid. We had a walkthrough. Only one contractor showed up. They're the only one that put a bid in, and it was in our estimation too high. I think they knew they were the only one, and plus we did put it out kind of in the summer when we feel most contractors had work already. So we're hoping to put it out in the winter. They may be a little hungrier, a little bit less work, so they may show up.
Is there more funding in this pot than to do the floor then? I mean, even though the bids came in high,
there was enough funding to accept the one bid, but again, we thought the bid was high, and we're trying to get other things, out of the lump sum of money that the grant is. And we've already Amy's talked to the people that, I'm not sure where we're getting the grant from, the state, I'm assuming, but there are things we can do with, additional funding or with that additional money if we save on the floor.
I got you. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that. Anything else? Okay. Bedrock Park update?
Bedrock Park is ongoing. We've had a couple major irrigation leaks down there this week, so we've been working on those. I don't know if you've been down there lately. We have concreted the 2 open sections. We filled those up, so there's no gap in the wall along the bike path now. And we've removed all the concrete from the amphitheater, and we removed the non-ADA compliant path to the amphitheater. And I think, as I said before, we'll be planting some trees down there, putting in some benches, and dressing up the parking lot, things like that. So it's just ongoing as time allows.
Wade, do you think that it's necessary? I mean, is it absolutely necessary to have that road that goes up there between the entrance into Bedrock Park and down where the tennis courts are, that little section of road right there? Could you do away with that road?
I would.
Or would it be emergency problems?
It may be emergency. We might have to talk to Bill or somebody about that, but it's to
eliminate some of the traffic through there. Because I drove by the park and looked at it, and Bill had said that that there was some ideas about possibly putting a covered cabana down in the park, but it would have to meet flood standards and what that might entail, and a playground, kind of the same thing. Mm-hmm. And I was looking at that area up top between the restrooms and the skate park, that you could put a cabana there and it would service the park as well as anybody wanting to use the skate park. Not as pretty area, but if it were fenced off appropriately so it was safe, you could either put the playground or the covered cabana up there, or you could put the playground up there, and you wouldn't have to worry about as much problems when the river floods.
Very true. And honestly, that stretch right there is almost one-way traffic, even though it's not designated that way.
Yeah.
But it is, something possibly to look into.
And it would make that safer if you eliminated some of the traffic through there, is all I was thinking. Anyway, I just throw that out, because I'm sure we're a long ways away from building a cabana and a playground at Bedrock Park, but maybe kick that around, you guys, and see if that sounds appealing to anybody.
Would that be something that would be using some of the development impact fees? I mean, it has nothing to do with that.
Yes, I believe that would be development impact fee money, possibly some of the RDA money, or even SBF money. I think would all fit something like that.
Okay.
So hold on.
Okay.
I'm sorry to bring this back, but I'm a little upset still about the bleachers. I mean, I'm not upset about the bleachers, but the idea of us losing the amphitheater. And so I've been thinking about it a little while, and I know that currently we just have the hillside instead of the amphitheater idea. But I was visiting the East Coast this summer, and there was a lovely outdoor amphitheater that I think would work well in that space, and does not allow for homeless people to make camp underneath it. So can I show you a picture of what I imagine could go there, and then we could have an amphitheater again? Because I think that like the idea of being able to do concerts in the park or plays in the park with the background of the river is beautiful and lovely and can be a staple in our community if we do it right. So you see, it's not. I'll come back and show you guys, but you could set up a little picnic sitting there, and you've got there's nothing underneath it. It's just all earthy,
Right.
and it doesn't leave room for Randy to stand there.
I agree with you. I mean, look at a safety standpoint and a maintenance standpoint, number one and number two.
Yeah.
And
It's pretty
Oh,
pretty easy, and it's really just earth and grass. And I think that then we'd be able to host, once we get to the point, because I know we will one day, be able to have concerts in the park and plays in the park and things like that, and it could really be an asset to our community instead of just something that was.
Anybody
Do
see
you guys want to see it? All right, I'll come down.
I was saying there was plans to have an amphitheater in Hewitt Park when that was
Yeah.
scheduled for renovation. That was one of the things that was included in the plan.
well, one of the things that happened though is that they used to do the Thursday night concerts or whatever in Bedrock Park, but then that moved to Riverbend Park. So that Riverbend Park kind of took on the venue for the community concerts. And I don't know what's left of that after the flood. I don't think it really was much. It was just a little raised area with a concrete pad or something.
Right,
over
we
there.
could
Well,
do way
there's-
better than that.
Yeah, there's those steps already there. There's concrete steps, but they get flooded anyway.
Well, that's right. They're already there.
Yeah, there's concrete steps there.
All right. Anything more on that? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good idea. Mowing of the parks. We just had some concerns about your short staff not being able to get to the parks.
yeah, we've had a seasonal employee for many years, just 6 months, 4 months, whatever. This year we're unable to hire one. We put it out twice, and we didn't receive any candidates that were, for lack of a better term, decent enough to work. I mean, we did try to hire 2 of them and couldn't get them to even show up. So we sent it out once. We had 3 applicants. Sent it out again. We didn't get any applicants. So we didn't hire a seasonal this year. That made it really tough to mow, and the mowing was done by myself, Lori, and Michael when he was available. And Michael actually works for the housing department. So trying to do a little cross training this summer, because we lost David McElhaney, which is a long-term employee. He retired, and I foresee losing another long-term employee real soon. So we trying to cross train with irrigation and tree work and some of the other aspects of the job, and so it kind of slowed the crew down a little bit. So mowing, yes, it was a challenge to actually even have a schedule, to get to things. And so like I said, this summer, especially the last month, it's been done by the housing department in our parks.
Housing department.
Yeah, we currently have 3 employees in parks, 3 in streets that I supervise. And then when Jim Gallagher retired, he's a building maintenance employee. They put the new building maintenance employee under me because he works out of our shop. And so that's Michael Clausen.
What's housing?
The city owns 6 or 7 houses, and so we have to keep those maintained, and then we lease some of them out sometimes. So they're kind of a jack of all trades, a building maintenance. They do a lot of work in the museums, in the facilities.
Was Jim Gallagher under that?
Yeah, that's what he was.
Oh.
And then when he retired, we've hired a pretty qualified candidate, Michael Clausen. And being a new employee, they kind of shuffled him under me since he works, like I said, out of our shop anyway. And I can use him as needed, unless there's a housing project, then he takes priority. So again, mowing, it's just one of those things.
It's just that's one of the things that is most noticeable.
Right.
When you come into a town or something and you see that the grass is not mowed, it doesn't make a very good impression.
Well, irrigation, we're still trying to do that 40 hours a week because the cost of water is so high, and we've had so many problems with vandalism and just a nightmare. Some of our irrigation systems are just getting a little older, so they take a lot more to inspect them and to repair them, and that's almost a 40-hour-week job. We still got 7-day coverage, so I still have an employee working weekends, so that takes away 2 days during the week that I'm able to use them. And then when we have green areas that are unsightly with weeds and things, or the parks need cleaned, or municipal, there's an event, I lose an employee doing that kind of stuff.
One of the things that I had suggested last meeting was that to take a look at some of the parks that don't get much use, either pocket parks, or I even threw in Hewitt Park because Hewitt Park doesn't get that much use, and to just, if you have to, just turn off the irrigation, and when it gets dry, just mow it and be done with it, more or less, so that you have more time to devote on the irrigated areas. And his, response was, hopefully it won't come to that.
Well, we've had some, actually twice we've had people come and want to do a project in a pocket park such as like Wallace Park and turn it into more of a dryscape. And we threw out some ideas, and it just never came to fruition. But that's something I would actually like to see, is going more dryscape, more rock, more drought-tolerant plants than turf, to not only save on water from the time it's done forever, but to cut down on some of the maintenance as well.
You could do it if like thinking Wallace where it sits. It'd be wonderful to do something like that, and it can be that there is. And it'd be an example for the rest of the communities, to see how the city of Oroville is turning a xeriscape into something, a place of beauty.
And Scott, sorry, go ahead.
And it's a small, it's not very large. Wallace is small.
We've also talked about the back part of Hewitt Park that's not really tamed. Is there a way to make Hewitt Park more user-friendly, either, I know, like including a walking path, since we lost the dam as a walking path, and considering a fenced area for dogs? We got open space. We may as well make it useful at a low cost.
I forgot about that. We talked about a dog park.
Plans to turn Hewitt into a beautiful park.
Yes, there was 3 phases. And the first phase was the only phase completed.
And now it's all.
The second phase was, I want to say, kind of the southwest area of the park, and that included an amphitheater at one time, but I believe there's a basketball court there now. And it also included a big picnic area, tables, and a playground back there. And then the third phase was more of the, I guess that would have been the southeast. The third phase was more of the southeast end, where and that was going to be a big field, soccer field, or multi-use field, and water feature, and that would be where the water would back up in the winter instead of like the ditch right there and things. So there was 3 phases at one time. I don't know where the money, I know they spent the money in the first phase. I don't know where the money went for the second phase and the third phase. There was just talk recently, about a year and a half ago, about doing another, looking at, grant funding for, and chipping away at the, beautifying the park.
Chrissy and I had talked about, I forgot about this a while back, because Feather River Recreation and Park District has been, struggling with their dog park issue, and the dog park they have isn't very convenient for some people, so there had been a lot of talk about them building another one, either keeping that one and building a newer one up closer to the entrance. And that where the area where they wanted to build that, in my opinion, was prime property for Riverbend Park. It's high in the floodplain and something that should be kept for possible, things that can be damaged by the flood or things that could make money. So we thought, well, I mentioned to her, I said, well, but Hewitt Park, maybe you could talk to Feather River Recreation Park District and say, let's not put the dog park at Riverbend Park, let's put it at Hewitt Park. And then the city would have a dog park and the city would have a dog park. Just an idea.
Mm-hmm.
I was at the dog park in Chico the past few weeks because if you want to take your dogs out, that's where you have to go now. And it was 6 o'clock and there was 35 other dogs. It brought me to tears. I was so happy that my dogs got to play with so many other pups. I've only ever seen 2 other dogs at our park.
At least a dog park, I don't think you really have to irrigate them.
No, you just need a little water bowl.
Yeah, and no irrigation is key.
Yeah, especially there.
Yeah, we spent a lot of money at Hewitt Park already on irrigation, so I think that's a good idea.
What's the process for finding new grants? Do we have a grant writer? Or did we? Sue?
We have a new, can I talk? Okay. We have a new docent who just became part of the docent. Her name is Linda Scott. And she handed me last week the information that she had dug out simply by asking for grants for museums and parks.
Mm-hmm.
And I have them. And what we were trying to do was find one that could perhaps provide some money for the La Home roof. That was our first thing. But they're still there, and the grants are available.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody, you could get it. I have all the information, which I kept. And so there are places you can ask for money for that kind of thing.
Yeah. And you add in a walking path, then you've got all of the fitness grants you qualify for too.
It always seems like that the positions that are, when the staffing gets low and you need the grants the most, there's no one to write the grants.
And grants, I mean, as far as what you're talking about, those grants are good, but you apply. The one that, there's one that said you had to have it in by the 1st of November,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't give you the money till 10 months later.
Yeah.
And there are things such
Quite
as
the turnaround.
growth that we can't wait that long.
I have questions. Can you give me an idea? Is there anything going before the City of Oroville Public for any type of a sales tax increase, or is that still in the planning stages?
It's on the
Yeah.
ballot.
Is it on the ballot?
It's Measure U.
Measure U? Okay. Is it a 1 cent or half cent? What is it?
I have no idea.
It's a 1 cent tax increase.
1 cent?
Yeah.
For the November election.
Mm-hmm.
1 cent or 1%?
Or 1%.
All right,
1%.
1% sales.
It's late.
1%?
I'm sorry.
No, it's 1 cent.
1%.
No, it's 1 cent. Now you're getting me all.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
okay.
it's a one. Yeah.
All right, got it.
What is it?
It's
1%.
1%. Okay, thank you. Maybe that will pass. Let's hope. All right, enough. Stewardship program.
Right.
Anything?
We talked about Adopt the Parks and creating a, Save Oroville Trees does such a good job at Centennial. How do we replicate that outstanding performance in order for other organizations to effectively adopt other parks? So I know there's a group of pastors who have been working at Bedrock Park. Hope Center apparently is the steward of Hewitt Park, but streamlining the process of adopting a park so that when you say that you're going to adopt a park, that means something more than you've picked up trash once a year.
Well, you said you'd be willing to serve on a stewardship committee, isn't that right?
Yeah, I said I would be happy to work with staff or whoever needs
Right.
to in order to. Wade and I have chatted
So
about
we
this
just need to
before.
put that in motion. So can you take that back to Bill? And
That you want to create a
Yeah.
committee to work on an adopt a park process?
Yes.
Okay. And Chrissy will be the liaison from the Parks Commission?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't even care if I'm the only person on the committee.
There you go. Sometimes those are the most effective.
I will want to talk to Save Oroville Trees, see why they're so good at what they do.
Anything else on stewardship program? If not, we'll go to item 12, which is the backlog report.
Most of them are crossed off.
So what you have in front of you is basically the one that was brought to the last commission meeting. We don't currently have a staff member that is able to update this, and so that's why you were brought back the one that was written on at the last meeting.
Oh. All right. Well, I'm just going to go through these fairly quickly for anyone in the audience's sake or any of the commissioners.
Mm-hmm.
The PTC 4 on cultural facilities. On the Historical Foundation, anybody want to add anything to that? I believe we've just...
I think they're crossed off because
Yeah,
we
we're letting that.
we
done
crossed
with it.
those off.
All right. And then, so then same thing with cultural facilities, Chinese
Yeah.
Temple. All right, then we go down to PTCA Park Stewardship Program. We just talked about that, and we have new direction.
Mm-hmm.
All right, PTC 9 Stewardship Program Ad Hoc Committee. What's the difference? Oh, that's the one I just said.
Yeah.
Well, no, there's something wrong here. We have under Parks and Cultural Facilities, we have written stewardship program, and then down below, I think that was just
I think
a
we
mistake.
combined them.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. They're combined now.
Well, that doesn't make sense to combine them.
Well, they moved the stewardship program, the Parks and Cultural Facilities down to the stewardship
Parks and
program.
Culture. I think what I remember is, well, I thought we were going to take PTC 8 off. That's the Parks and Cultural Facilities. That was letting us know when something was going on. When we just going to take that off.
Okay.
Any problem with that? Okay.
It says
We'll
move.
cross PTC 8 off. Then we go down to stewardship program. We have new direction there. And we'll go to PTC 21. Is that right? Yeah.
And it's on the
PTC
yeah.
21.
Put it on the agenda.
Put it on the agenda. What was that? That was park development fees. Yeah, okay. And then PTC 26, safety training. We've talked about that. We have direction. Ups Park website. We talked about that. That's also got a remove on there. So I guess we can remove that now because it's been updated. Vandalism report.
I think they're working on it.
Yeah, I think that's...
Yeah, remember there was a new accounting system that was going to be able to easily track staff time, and then we'd be able to share how much time we lose on vandalism.
Yeah, it's in progress.
Yeah, that's what we heard. In theory. The idea was, if we knew the cost of the vandalism, not just the cost of materials, but the cost of time, it would give an explanation and published it. It would give an explanation to the public, one of the reasons why it's so difficult to maintain the other things you have to do because you're wasting so much time having to clean up, vandalism. And I would thought that would be important information to publish to give a greater understanding to the public of what's going on in the parks. I mean, that was what this came from. So if we had an estimate of the cost of personnel and time, and materials, because it has to cost in probably the thousands of dollars, and I just think that would be important information out there.
Okay.
I want it published on the website and in the paper. I want it published. I just want it out there because I also think by giving an idea of the things that are going on with vandalism, that it may make the public more aware and they may be more consciously aware of what's happening, and maybe they would report it more or do something to help it. Right. I don't know if it'll make a difference, but it seemed to me it would help.
The whole world is.
Well, I'll meet with Ruth and probably Sharon and from the finance department, because we do have the software and we are currently accounting for materials, but we're not accounting for our time for the vandalism. But we do have electronic timesheets now. They're up and running. They've been up and running for a couple months. We're getting a little more familiar with them, so maybe we could add just another column off to the side where we can report something like that. I think that's easy to do. It's just something that needs set up.
About the homeless camps, the previous meeting that was held here, one was brought up behind the memorial wall, a big wall that goes down to that back pathway. There's a real current one that's there. Is that gone now, or have you been aware of it, or are you the one to report instead of
We should.
Ron Belzer? What's his act in this? I have his active phone number, and I say, Ron, there's such and such down there, and he goes down immediately and the camp. I don't know if he knows of that particular one that was just behind the memorial wall down below on the lower pathway that isn't bad yet.
I can definitely report it to him and David Goyer. The parks and the streets departments, we typically will clean up homeless that are within our parks, our ditches, because right now we're having a real tough time with them in our large culverts and our open ditch system, living in them, camping in them, and we're pulling couches and mattresses out. We did that today. We're going to do it tomorrow. Sometimes we assist on private property or public property with the loader and 5-yard dump trucks when they're large. When they're small, like a 1-ton size, Ron and David Goyer will take care of them themselves, or will assist with the help of SWAP. So I will report that to them and see where they go. But they're just as busy as the rest of us with. Yes.
And that's another side of vandalism.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Absolutely.
Michelle pointed out to me, too, that probably when you have something that you want to speak, you should probably come up to the microphone because you're only getting one half of the recording. So, thank you. All right. So that's in progress, and Wade, you're going to look into that and report back. Pioneer Museum, is there anything new on that?
No, this was decided to be left in till because they needed to follow up on it because there hasn't been. The Native Sons were talking about taking back the Pioneer. That's what this is about. And we haven't heard anything, so we thought we'd drop it. But because we don't know what's going on and there's been no response, we were leaving it in until we found a more definite answer.
Right. So unless there was something new, we just carry it over.
It's just going to carry it till something happens.
And then the last item is PTC 31, Parks-related grant program.
Municipal.
Backlog report. This is just what you had already talked about earlier, I think. Wade, was the possibility of having extra funds to do extra work at the municipal auditorium, so I think we're good there. That's all of the items on the backlog report. We are now done with discussion items. We'll go to administration report. So do we have an administration report?
Wade, I'm sorry to put you on the spot again. Bill asked if you would give an update on the Old Ferry Road.
We just received an email, maybe Friday or Monday yesterday, that the repairs have been made on the upper portion of Old Ferry Road. So tomorrow, as early tomorrow, maybe Thursday, we're going to go and remove the temporary barricade we have up, the chain and the 2 concrete bollards, and so we can open up the road so you can go up to the diversion dam just like it was a few years ago.
Oh, wow.
So that's all going to be opened back up.
Great. Super. Have to get down there and see it.
Yeah.
Any other comments on that? All right. We'll go to committee docents reports. So we'll start out with commission reports. Do you have any, Michelle?
Oh, yeah. I do. I was at the Pioneer Museum 29th and 30th. The computer's not there yet.
So Bill's update on that is that he has spoken with Tyson, and that Jesse will be going down and installing a computer down there at the Pioneer Museum, as well as they're going to be purchasing a computer.
A second one.
Yeah.
The second one that we had talked about for the lot home.
So those were the words that he gave me. I'm guessing that's probably
that's
what
was
is.
discussed during our docent meeting. The one that was purchased a couple years ago that goes to the Pioneer, that's the one he'll be installing. There was also a request that a second one be purchased, but it was being purchased through the docent association, but through the city to get whatever, so it could be the proper type of computer for the program.
Paid for.
But paid for by the docents. And that was, is that second computer you're talking about? You don't know for sure.
I believe so, because he said that Jesse was going to be installing the one at the Pioneer Museum and that they were going to be purchasing a computer.
Yeah, so I'm guessing that's what it is. But we can find that out and let us know so we know for sure.
I'm guessing that was what he was referring to. But so, because I know when I told him that you guys were trying to track down the computer still, he reached out and that was the info that was given to us.
Yeah. So that's my report because I was down there and there wasn't one there.
Anything else?
Nope.
I've got nothing.
I don't have anything. All right. Then we'll go to docent report.
Hi, I'm Lonnie Frederick. I'm the lead docent this year. Hopefully we can get that computer right away. I mean, this has been going on for 2 years, that the money, three and a half, that the money was given to the city to purchase it, and we still do not have one on hand. Our next concern is the roof on the lot home.
Lonnie, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can you pull the mic down so that it records you? Thank you.
Okay. It's been 22 months ago that we were down there cleaning, and Michelle was cleaning in the nursery, and we broke for lunch, and we came back, and she was yelling, and part of the ceiling had collapsed in the nursery as a result of a leak. And so the city said they'd put it out for bids. They got one bid. They said that was $20,000 over the money that was allotted. And we've been going back and forth. It was, well, we're trying to get more bids. We're trying to go to Sacramento to get people that work on Victorian homes that are more used to working on roofs like that. But we're facing another winter, and we need a roof on the lot home. It's going to do a lot more damage. The house is over 160 years old, and we want to preserve it.
So, what is the current estimate?
It was $80,000 if I recall.
You don't know? Wow, that's a lot of money.
It was the lot home and the adjoining
The well.
well and it goes out there. What the other structure was? It was for the whole thing.
I remember something about that. I thought,
Yeah, it was
it
Talked
Jim
about it last
Dolahar was going to
January.
get up there and do some of the work or something?
Well, apparently
wasn't
he put buckets up in the attic,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what saved the rest of the ceiling
it? That's
until
a
now.
really dangerous roof to work on, I assume.
Right.
That's was part of the issue when we had the discussion. It was the roof itself. However, it would seem like, I don't know, you're going to put blue tarps up there?
Listen, for at least 10 years, when I was at Feather River Recreation and Park District, we dealt with the leaks in the municipal auditorium with
Believe
attics in
that.
the bucket. Buckets in the attic. I had 20 buckets in the attic at one time, and you can do amazing things with buckets. So we have to do something. So we have to make sure that we protect the integrity of the
Well,
of the
and like I
museum.
say, Linda Scott was she was working on investigating a grant. We were even wondering if we could get SBF funds that would cover this. But something we need the city to proceed and take care of this. It's a number one priority to us.
Well,
Yeah, and it should be to the city as well. It should be.
Recommend that
We need to take some kind of action here at the Park Commission to, give some direction to staff to present this to the city council. I have no idea where it'll go.
Yeah. Well, what they have to do first, because we can't do anything. These are just discussion items. So
That's correct.
Yeah. So all we can do is recommend that they do a report and do something. I mean,
We asked to be on the agenda for the council last month, and Chief Legrone took us off the agenda. He felt that it could be handled here and in-house.
Well, due to time constraints, we're not going to meet again in 3 months.
I know.
So we can't even.
we can have a special meeting.
Yeah, we could have a special meeting.
And I realize that there's been a huge turnover at the city hall, and we're aware of all of that, but this is something that can't be swept under the carpet any longer.
It sounds like the first step is to get new bids, since those other bids are fairly old, and we'll need more.
Would it be the same sort of thing, since work is slowing down, people might be more available?
It would be worth a shot. I know that because this was in Jim's lap when he was here, then it got kind of transferred over to Michael, Don Nevers, Gary Lehman. I mean, everybody's had a part in it. And I know they called every roofing contractor that they could find, and they did get one bid. So maybe work's slowing down for these contractors, and they'd be more than up to look at it and take a bid.
Is it possible to have a bid, but to do half a roof, and then what is the weather change, and then the next spring do the other half, even and still include it in at least the one half has to be done.
Yeah, that was part of the discussion too, I think, was that it was going to cost more to break it out in little individual pieces as to do it at one time. I think that was part of the discussion. I would like to consider that we take action tonight to request the city to get more estimates and to consider measures to protect the integrity of the building until we can bring this back before the Park Commission.
Okay.
And in those estimates, break out the house versus the house and the well, and then the other structure.
Okay.
So those estimates, breaking those out so we could prioritize.
And so did you get that? So estimates and break it out if you can. And that gives you 3 months to get estimates, and then during that time you'll have to figure out how you can cover the roof with plastic or put buckets in there or whatever you have to do to protect it. And then if you can bring it back at our meeting, we can take action and have it on the council meeting, the very next council meeting.
Okay, thank you.
That it be presented to the next council meeting.
Yeah.
Your idea of going to Home Depot, what you found out.
Oh, I did. That's right. I did go out to Home Depot, and I spoke to the manager out there and explained the situation. And I asked if they had a program that they would give donations, since it was a museum. And the manager was very nice, and he said that if we got a bid from a licensed contractor, which I know that the city would have to have, it would have to be a licensed contractor. He said to contact him, and he would be happy to probably give a discount on some of the supplies and even donate some. So that's something to put in the back of your head too.
That just brought a thought to mind. The Chico State building program, you know what I'm talking about, where they teach
Construction management?
Their construction management program over at Chico State. They will do projects. They actually completely roofed the Veterans Memorial Building in Durham when I was there as a project, and there were materials that had to be purchased, but they did all the labor. So I don't know if you could make a connection and possibly get that on their schedule.
I like the idea of finding out.
Yeah.
Does Butte College have the same program?
I believe they do. Not as extensive, for sure, but they do have one.
Would be worth calling.
So would you look into that? All right.
Okay. Also, it's frequently happening that the computers in the museums, that scan out, that they're defective. And at the lot home, they've been disconnected completely. That show the different parts of the museum. We can watch people as they go through and monitor them. But we feel that this really needs to be brought up to date. I worked at the temple last week, and one of the cameras was out. It had been fine the day before when I had been in there, and then that one was out. But like I say, they're not even hooked up. And I know Bobby said that they come and go down at the Pioneer as well.
They're all working at Pioneer.
They're right now. They are.
Yes, they are.
Oh, good.
So do we know why they don't work?
No.
Is there a procedure on letting Tyson or staff know when those things aren't working?
The procedure the docents have basically is sometimes they call Wade, but essentially is they bring stuff to the park commission, which doesn't meet very often. So their concerns, that's why they're here actually, to bring their concerns.
But this kind of stuff has been this has been a problem for a long time.
Anytime you have tech,
We don't have staff.
I know.
We're down to bare bones staff.
I know.
And I think, as frustrating as it may be, and I appreciate you bringing it to us, and we can put it on the agenda for the next meeting to have a discussion of the video at the lot home.
Probably all of them. Have them double check all of them.
But I think try to be patient a little bit longer if you can.
It's a security issue. It really is. The next thing we have is that Janice spoke about Linda Scott, how she was investigating to obtain a grant. And in the process, she got into the city website for the finances, and there was $101,047 that was removed out of the Pioneer Museum account. And I've got copies that I'll give to each of you that she gave to me. And it went into the park department. You can see in there where it was transferred to the park department. And it was set up by the Pioneer Association, and was intended to cover the operating staff fixtures in it. And you can see where it hasn't been used through the years. And we can understand that, saying, okay, it hasn't been removed. But we'd like to know who authorized it and what it was used for.
It's in other words, she's saying there was $100,000 in that account for the Pioneer Museum, and then suddenly there wasn't.
Thank you.
Do you have one for staff? Yes. Thank you.
So she, followed the years, and the next thing you know, it wasn't there.
It's gone.
This was city funds, though. This wasn't
right. It's in the city general fund, and there's also a copy of the charter that says no money in the park fund shall be used for any purpose other than the financial support of the Department of Parks. So, if you can check that out, we'd appreciate it.
All right. We would like to have that put on our next agenda, if you would please. A review of the Pioneer Museum Fund. So we'd like to have that on the next agenda. We'd like to have the roof repair on the agenda, and we would like the security cameras, thank you, on the agenda. Okay, go on, Lonnie.
Thank you. Also, maybe you guys have any suggestions, but we're having recruiting difficulties.
Or are we?
It's just like everybody was saying, there's so many things around the city that people do, donate their time for. But when we got Linda Scott a month or so ago, we were just yahoo,
We got one the other day.
Oh, did we? Oh, good. So if you can come up with anything that would help us and ideas or anything because we're just at bare bones, especially since we've had to take on, the docents have had to take on more days of the Chinese temples since Patty.
I'm there tomorrow.
Yeah, and So we'd appreciate that. But we also have thanks for you, for the city staff. We're thankful, very thankful for the air conditioning that's been installed at the Pioneer, and it went into the temple also.
Yes, there's new air conditioning, and the office there got that air conditioning got repaired.
So I went in to go to the restroom, and there's all these huge air conditioning boxes in there that were shoved in there. So I thought, well, they must have put something up at the temple as well. Now, do those include heating units?
Yes.
Oh,
Everything.
good.
Yes.
We won't freeze at the Pioneer this year, and we want to thank the city for the update on the websites. You know, because those were the days opening and the times and everything were incorrect, and they fixed that. So we want to thank them very much for that. So, okay, that's all I have.
I feel for you, trying to get more volunteers. I think we have an ad on the website, open ad on the website for docents.
Okay.
And I did post for your. How did your guys' event turn out? Well.
Our open house was very well.
Okay.
And we had a steady stream all day long. In fact, we filled out 2 full pages of visitors. And I was very pleased because I was starting to worry that nobody was going to show up at all. And so we didn't count, but we must have had at least 75 or 80.
Yeah, they drink and eat a lot, we can tell you that.
Do you have a sign up at each museum at the entry that says docents wanted?
Yes.
Yeah.
Already have that, huh?
And we've got applications at each one as well.
The lady, I was working at the temple the other day, and the lady came in so excited that she immediately filled out an application.
Oh, good for her. Okay, thank you for your
Thank you, Lonnie. Appreciate it very much.
Come on, Becky. You should state who you are.
I'm Becky Smith from with the Feather River Nature Center down on Old Ferry Road, and I really want to give humongous thanks to all the attention that Wade Atterbury and his crew have given to maintaining that and bringing in the gravel now. And because our cleanup day, the citywide cleanup day, we had 16 high school kids helping about 8 adults doing the small stuff around and going after the taller trees and opening up our creeks and the pathways will be very nice. And of course wintertime will help them grow again, but we'll pull the little ones. It's easier when the big stuff's gone. So just thanks for that, and that it's open. Our building will not be open until we can maintain the inside of it. And I'm not sure if the telephone's working, but I've said most of us carry our cell phones with us, and I don't know if the water is running now or not. We had the hose all ready to go, and there was no water pressure around the building, but it's nice to have it, but it's not advertised to being open because there's too much that has gone to the elements. We had skeletons instead of fur little things on the wall, on the shelves, and we've just got to redo all the shelving in there and everything. And
Is the entrance and exit still, it's good and safe though?
oh, well, Wade has repaired it twice now.
You should tell them what happened with the door.
Well, Wade can tell you more specifically, because I can tell you it was just, I don't know what they had to use, but it was like a crowbar. They just went through thick, 2-inch thick the doors that are made of whatever the wood is called, that were just pried open, and the mechanism was taken out. Is that correct, the lock?
It was vandalized beyond repair, so we did have to replace the locking mechanism. And they were just prying on it. I tell people that they have nothing but time on their hands, so give them a chisel and they have something to do for all night long. And they were just chiseling away at the door.
And they sleep there, and there's graffiti there, and a couple of needles were taken out by some of us putting back the Salmon Festival materials. I took pictures. Urination pile and excrement is found around in the cement areas. We even took part of a cement wall out, had it taken out, and so that it would be more open around the edges. But sweet Mr. Rex Burris goes down there with his cane and sits on his bench now and observes high school kids. I've called the high schools. I've talked with them for the noon open campuses, and the high school kids go down there, and it's a free privacy for them. They go around behind the building, and they are just extremely.
So it's not just the homeless causing the
Oh no, it's high school kids talking back and forth to each other on the walls, and the painting that was there of the salmon swimming by Rex Burris, we'd love to put that back together, and every time we clean it off, it's back again. And so it's a conundrum, but it's going to be there. That good old rock building will be there, and there are fewer and fewer people who can work down there, and I just keep calling it our place, but I don't. We want to open it by spring.
How's the roof on that building?
It was very well through the winter, and now that school's back in session, or through the summer, I guess, school's back in session, and there are about 5 or 6 tiles down on the ground again. The kids, and I don't know from where, because they're different. The young people come by. I think it's an act of passage or something. How many tiles can you break? Young men were found jumping from the side hillside onto the roof by Mr. Coleman. There's a young or an elderly man that goes down and watches it and reported to Rex Burris. And he said he told them they're not, you're not supposed to jump on the roof. Not to mention the fact that they could slip and fall down on this partially broken down wall now that we've saw taken out. And so I called the school and I said, can you close the campus to kids going down the river? Oh no, we can't do that, because the entrepreneurs, the food vendors in town complain that their business goes down without an open lunch. So we're set with an open campus and kids that can go down for 45 minutes. Ron Belser has his men coming down at noon times now, apparently.
So the artifacts and what have you that were inside the Pioneer Museum, are they in there or are they gone?
Oh no, they're all in there, and in very disrepair because of the climate. It gets cold, 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 and hot, 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 and we had to throw a couple of skeletons away and brush off all their hair.
It seems like, back in the day before that building was fixed up and turned back into...
Oh, in the 90s.
It was really bad.
It was horrible.
Totally. And all this work, went
all
into
overgrown.
Fixing. And then when seemed like we had people staffing it down there, we had volunteers enough or whatever to staff it.
Yeah.
And some of that vandalism went away because the building was attended.
On the weekends,
and
right.
Now...
Well, through the winter,
there's not as many people down there, so the building is going to constantly.
We were only there Saturdays and Sundays, not through the week. So it's the after school when the kids don't have to be home, don't have to get to their homework or
just
whatever.
Trying to get to why there's more vandalism now.
Oh, because there's no weekend control. There was no road open.
Homeless. There was a big
homeless.
They've
My
removed
gosh,
the homeless camp.
I've interfaced with homeless people in their tents myself.
So that should be better now. But we still don't have staffing for the building itself because it's not open.
Right.
Staffing for the building because it's not open?
Yeah, don't have the building open yet.
Right, and we won't until spring.
And I have updated the website so that it says that you're anticipating opening spring of 2019.
And I thank you. Yes, that was what we talked about at our meeting.
Well, we'd have to ask Wade. I mean, the place where they're doing their jumping, is there some mitigation for that area? I mean, if it was lower, I don't know.
It's a pathway that goes up from the original pathways that they've created, because there were picnic tables.
They took the picnic tables down, yeah.
Those were taken out.
So, I mean, is there some way of...
It's a path to the railroad that they like to...
If there's some way of moving the wall back, is there some way of mitigating that access?
Put it...
I mean, that's what for Wade to decide. Maybe there's or look at, because
some kind of a barrier,
from
something.
that vantage point.
If they are constantly I mean, this isn't the first time. It has been constantly they're breaking the tiles. The tiles are a particular size because it's and they're harder and harder to get. Isn't that correct? And they're getting more and more costly, and it's happening continuously. So there must, it seems to me, besides just replacing tiles, there must be some way of mitigating the access. And if they're jumping like that, I mean, if you kind of know what they're doing, maybe you can, I don't know, move the dirt back, get a, I don't know, get a backhoe in there.
It's a big boulder wall. It's a big boulder that's there first, and then it's soil.
Right.
That goes up this pathway.
But I mean, the pathway doesn't have to be there necessarily. It doesn't sound like it. Just seems to me that maybe there's some way to mitigate the access. I don't know if that's possible or not.
Yeah, I was just going to say we could look at it planting poison oak or blackberries.
Yeah, let's plant blackberries there.
I don't know if
I want you to do that.
you know, whatever is put in there, it's like that's the challenge. How can we do this anyway?
Yeah. I don't know, anyway.
I can talk to Ron Belser tomorrow a little bit, and I've had good success with Nicodemus, with the school resource officers.
Oh.
We've had problems out of Hammond, and I've had them come out to Hammond during lunch and things.
Make one area off limits because I've done it when I was working at the school.
Yes, we had them.
Personally told on the phone, we can't keep them away from there.
We made Hammond Park off limits from Prospect High School.
That made it enforceable by the
during their lunch.
police.
And if we have to, I can have higher than me go to Oroville High School and talk to them if need be. And then the school resource officer for Oroville High School, I can talk to Nicodemus and have them start patrolling.
Yeah, just drive through.
Because they do have a school
Ron
resource
Belser
officer.
has a small crew. He can't be the.
Yeah. Anyway, that.
This is the kind of information that we need and appreciate, and we always did enjoy your docent reports that we got in writing with each agenda, but there's nothing better than having the people come and
thank you.
Tell us
It feels good to be here.
Your
saying
concerns.
Something to someone who can
And
say something to someone to do it.
I know that Wade and his staff are doing everything they can in the police department, and I give them
he's on my cell phone.
very much credit for everything that they do.
I do. Oh, yeah.
But I know you do too. But it helps to hear this.
Okay.
And maybe next time when we meet, if you come, you can tell us how things are going again at the museum.
Do this. Yes, it feels good to hear about the other areas too. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right. Do we have any other comments from the public? All right. Come forward, please.
Marlene Del Rosario. I live at 3041 Orange Avenue. My problem is very small compared to roofs and vandalism, but I donated a piece for the Chinese Museum, and I know it sat for several months in Don Never's office, and now it's moved somewhere else, and I really would like that piece put into the museum. There is no name on it, but I've watched for it. And if I could just get that put there, I would appreciate it.
What was the item?
It's a stand with a ceramic piece in it. It's like a dish with a scene, a Chinese scene on it. It's done in blue and white. And the stand is wooden. I believe it's oak, and it's finished.
Would you look into that, please, and bring that back at the next meeting?
Okay.
Thank you.
Has it been accepted by the commission yet?
I've never heard anything
We haven't seen it.
Okay.
about it.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
What happened is Dawn was in charge of that, and we would give her the information, which is what we did after she filled out, and went to her, and I never know until something comes back to me, it went to you or to anybody, because nobody lets you know unless all of a sudden they say, aha. So I don't know where it would be right now. It was in Dawn's office.
Oh.
That's the last I can say what it was.
But it was never accepted by... You don't know? Okay. Wouldn't we have a record of the...
I don't remember seeing that item for the Chinese temple. The last, I mean, we didn't meet in the last 8 months until just last month
Oh.
or so. I mean,
Right.
the park commission didn't meet since, what,
Well-
January?
Could you look into that and see if it can be located and then bring that back at the next meeting? Thank you. We'll try to get this resolved for you. Okay. Thank you. Okay, anybody else? All right. Anything from the commission? Wade? All right. Then there being no further business, we will adjourn.
Is that right?
I don't think so. When would our next meeting be? Are we going 3 months then, or are we going to try to do it sooner? I would like to do it sooner myself.
With the quarterly schedule, it's January 8th. I mean, if you guys need a special meeting between now and then. we
I
might
think
need to
3
look at
months
it.
is too long for the stuff that we have. Do you agree?
Sure.
I think at least 2 months.
So December?
Oh, well, then we're going to be what? December what?
It'd be like December 4th or something like that.
Yeah, early December. Look, let me leave it this way. We'll adjourn until the next regular meeting on January 8th, 2019, unless we can arrange for a special meeting in December.
Okay.
That's what I said, I think, didn't I?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I'll put it out to staff and see what.
And that still leaves them staff 2 months to get some of this information back.
Yeah, the item, I have nowhere it is. I can't.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I don't know where it is.
Oh yeah, that.
They're gonna look for it in the office, right?
Well, they're gonna look.